You think you're a victim of life, but what if I told you that the real enemy is your own reflection? You're not cursed. You're not broken, but you are programmed. Every time you trusted the wrong person, every time you sabotage your own peace, it wasn't fate. It was a pattern. A pattern your own mind created, and you kept feeding it, over and over again. This isn't about blaming you. It's about awakening you. Because what's more terrifying than being in pain is realizing you chose it. It's easy to blame the world, your parents, your ex, your bad luck. But what if the pain you carry isn't because of them? What if it's because of the choices you made? Not the loud choices, but the quiet ones. The ones you made when no one was watching. The ones you keep denying. You ignored the red flags. You stayed when everything in you said leave. You laughed when you should have cried. You stayed silent when you should have screamed. You thought you were surviving, but you were slowly programming your mind to believe that pain is normal, that suffering is love, that you don't deserve more. This mirror, the one you refuse to look into, doesn't reflect what the world did to you. It reflects what you've done to yourself. We think our pain comes from big events, a breakup, a betrayal, a loss. But the truth? The deepest wounds come from small, invisible choices made every single day. You stayed in that job that drained your soul. You kept texting the person who made you feel small. You lied to yourself just to avoid uncomfortable truths. These aren't accidents. They are patterns. And every time you choose comfort over growth, silence over truth, approval over authenticity, you take one more step into the prison your mind is building. A prison with no bars, no guards, and no escape until you finally admit you built it yourself. It's not fate. It's not bad luck. It's you choosing the same pain again and again. Have you ever wondered why you keep repeating the same pain? Different faces, different places, but the same story, the same ending. You get close to someone and then push them away. You start a new habit, then destroy it just when it starts working. Why? Because part of you is addicted to the familiar pain. Your brain is wired to return to what feels known, even if it hurts, even if it breaks you, because to your subconscious, pain is predictable, and predictability feels safe. You sabotage peace because chaos is your comfort. You ruin love because deep down you don't believe you deserve it. And so the cycle continues. Hope, progress, collapse. Until one day you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, why do I keep choosing it? It sounds insane, doesn't it? The idea that you might be addicted to your own suffering. But what if pain isn't just something that happens to you? What if it's something you crave? When you've lived your life in chaos, peace feels foreign. When love is unpredictable, stability feels boring. So you seek out the sharp edges, the heartbreak, the drama, the emptiness. Because somewhere deep inside, you believe you deserve it. You sabotage happiness the moment it knocks. You push away people who love you. You ruin things before they can ruin you. That's emotional masochism, punishing yourself because you mistaken pain for truth, because your wounds have convinced you, this is who I am. But it's not who you are. It's who you became when nobody helped you heal. Most of your current pain isn't new. It's old pain, recycled, replayed, disguised as something current, but born years ago. Your mind didn't start building these patterns yesterday. They were carved in childhood, when you were still learning what love meant, what safety felt like, and whether or not you were enough. If your needs were ignored, you learned to stay silent. If your voice was punished, you learned to become invisible. If love was conditional, you learned to earn it, even bleed for it. These are trauma loops. You don't recognize them as a child. You just survive them. But survival has a cost. You grow up and live your adult life from a wounded child's logic. You love like the unloved child. You fight like the scared child. You withdraw like the forgotten child. And you repeat until you remember this isn't who you are. It's who you were forced to become. You don't just live in pain. You explain it. You say, I'm just unlucky. Maybe I'm too broken to be loved. This is just who I am. But those aren't truths. They lies you tell yourself to make sense of the pain. Because truth hurts, but lies feel safer. It's easier to say you're cursed than to admit you're choosing the same suffering over and over again. It's easier to call yourself worthless than to risk believing you're not and getting hurt again. You lie to protect the wound, but the lie becomes a cage. And the more you repeat it, the more it becomes your identity. Soon, you don't just feel pain, you become it. You don't just survive the storm. You start calling the storm home. There comes a moment when you stop having pain and start being pain. You wear it like skin. You carry it in your smile. You dress it up in humor or drown it in silence. Pain becomes your personality. Your trauma becomes your compass. And suddenly, you're not living anymore. You're just performing. People praise your strength, but they don't see the collapse that happens in the dark. They see your kindness, but not the self-neglect behind it. Because somewhere along the way, you started to believe, if I stop hurting, I might not know who I am. That's the tragedy. Not that pain happened, but that you mistook it for your identity. And so you stay small. You stay hidden. You stay wounded because healing feels like losing a part of yourself. But what if the pain isn't your identity? What if it's just a costume, one you wore to survive? What if you're not broken, just buried beneath layers of defense? The beliefs you carry, I'm not good enough, love is dangerous. People always leave. They not your truth. They your programming. And programming can be rewritten. The prison you live in has a door, but you can't walk through it until you stop pretending it doesn't exist. Freedom isn't found in fixing the world. It's found in understanding your own story. When you trace the wound, you take away its power. When you name the lie, it begins to lose its grip. And when you stop running from your pain, you meet the version of you that's been waiting all along. Look in the mirror, not at your face, but at your patterns, your choices, your triggers. That's where the truth lives. You're not stuck because of fate. You restuck because of what you've accepted, what you've repeated, what you refuse to heal. The mind will fight change because it's addicted to the familiar, even when the familiar is pain. But here's the truth that changes everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the one listening to them. You are not your past. You are the one holding the pen right now. This is your story, and it's not finished, not even close. You don't need permission to heal. You don't need approval to grow. You just need a decision to choose yourself, to face the pain, to walk out of the prison, and never look back. The pain you carry was never proof that you were weak. It was proof that you were alive. You weren't broken. You were adapting. You were surviving with the tools you had. But survival is not the same as living. And now, you're ready to live. Not as the wounded version of yourself, but as the one who knows, who sees, who finally understands. You don't need to convince anyone. Not them, not the world, not even the old voices in your head. The only person who needs to believe in your healing is you. So take a breath. Feel your heartbeat. It's still here. Yuri's still here. And your story? It's just beginning.